person that probably should introduce themselves is Mike Gardner. Mike is from DYS. He is replacing Eric Montgomery as the DYS representative.
Great. Good morning,
I may
Mike.
have lost him.
Oh, did we lose him? Sorry, I can't see everybody because
I don't see him on the list, so we may have.
oh, he was on his phone and he's traveling, so he might pop back in, but he will be our new representative from DYS.
Awesome. Thanks, Veronica. Do we have any other guests with us this morning? Doesn't look like it.
I don't think so.
All right, well then we can move to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda?
So move. Or second, whatever you need.
Same here, whatever.
I heard Mr. Brandon was else.
It was Sue Shackelford.
Right, thank you. Right, Veronica, anything to add about the agenda, or can we move to vote?
I believe we can move to vote. I just have a question. Is my screen sharing impacting everybody else's ability to see everybody? And would you rather I not screen share?
I
It's up to
prefer that you
guys.
do.
You prefer that I do?
Yeah, it keeps the
Okay.
3 screens I'm having, it narrows the number of screens to look at, so thank you.
Then I think what we need to make sure happens then is that if you are motioning, say I'll motion in my name. So if we can't see it, we can at least hear the name and the seconds. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Veronica. If there's no other discussion for the agenda, move to vote to approve today's agenda. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, any opposed or any abstentions? Doesn't look like it, so we can move to the next item. Looks like the approval of the meeting minutes from the August 13th, 2020 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move. This is Natalie.
Thanks, Natalie. Can I get a second?
I'll second Robin.
Thank you, Robin. Right, any discussion or items to bring up on the minutes, Veronica?
None for me unless somebody has found something that needs corrected.
Right, give you guys a second to look those over here. All right, there are no issues or any corrections. I can call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, any opposed or any abstentions? Doesn't look like it. We can move on to item number 2, Budget Committee.
Yeah.
First-
Hi, everyone. I got appointed to chair this meeting since there were so many of us there. So I don't know, Veronica, can you bring that up, the first
Oh, yes, ma'am.
page? We're going to be looking at September and October. And I'm trying to think, there really wasn't that much that was significant. Is Michelle on this meeting?
Here.
Okay, okay. Was there anything that you wanted to point out? I didn't think there was much.
I pointed out in budget committee that at the top 783 under contracts, USPS PO box, that's just annual rental for our PO box. So you only see that once a year. Everything else is pretty much typical.
Okay. So we approved this coming out of the budget committee, so I would ask for a motion, all in favor, to signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, no questions, we're ready to move on? Okay,
We
the
have
next
to
thing
do the October,
coming up
don't
is,
Oh, we approved those
we?
together.
Did we
And
approve them?
we did,
Mhm.
yes,
Oh,
we
okay.
did.
All right. Okay. Sorry, I was behind.
Okay.
Okay, you want to talk about the line item transfer and,
This line item transfer is just requesting funding or appropriations be moved from wraparound services to respite services for the family-centered services. What page is. We tend to have more respite than we do wraparound, so that's why I'm requesting this. The second one is an increase in revenue and expense for the multi-system youth funding. We have budgeted $200,000 for this calendar year, and we are almost all the way through it. So I'm just asking for another 100,000 in both line items, mostly because we're not going to meet again until December. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough to get me through, or to get us through November, and not have to mess with something at the end of the year. That's when the bottlenecks at the county in December. So that's what that's about.
okay, anybody have any questions about that? Okay, then I would make the motion on behalf of the Budget Committee that we approve these items and call for a vote. Everyone in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you. And the last thing is the county budget for calendar year 2021.
Right, this is just the appropriation and receipt estimates for 2021, because we don't have year-end figures yet to know what our carryover is going to be going into the next year. We've only factored in a small amount. We probably will be revising it the beginning of the year, which if probably be February, so we can get it on the books for real. So it's about let's see, it's $633.
Which is larger than usual, but it is because of that money tied to
Yeah.
the multi-system youth. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Are there any questions about the budget at all?
I have a question, Sylvia. This is Nate. Are we able to allocate any funding to potential funding opportunities for kids in the county over the next year? For those situations where multi-system youth dollars wouldn't be appropriate?
Nate, you're coming in and out. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, guys. I was just asking if FCFC was able to devote any funding in the budget to support potential pooled funding opportunities for kids over the next year.
I think Natalie mentioned using the multi-system youth money through JFS for that. And Budget Committee, I think she mentioned that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I just know there are some issues or some circumstances where we can't use MSY because of like the
Okay.
timelines, or if it's a developmental center placement. So in those more rare circumstances, if there's any funding devoted to that.
Does anyone
Nate,
have
I'm
that
wondering
answer?
if, well, I'm wondering if we need to, can this be revised, Michelle? Like, I know that Natalie, and I don't want to misspeak, but I know that we would like to pull together a small group or subcommittee to discuss pooled and shared funding at the beginning of the year. So I think based on that discussion, I think we would need to look at, what the contributions will look like.
This budget's going to go on effective January 1st. We won't have a board meeting until February. So if I bring the new budget in February, then it can be approved and we would be able to do some things, at that point.
And I want to clarify where I think Nate may be coming from, and Nate, feel free to correct anything that I say. What has been happening really more frequently in this fiscal year than it had been in recent fiscal years is that we have children who are multi-system children who are needing some level of placement that the multi-system youth dollars aren't covering. And so we have pulled together partnership funding between JFS, Adams, DD, and juvenile court. But that's, I mean, that's a hard on the fly process to go through. And I never make it easy because I want to know so much information before I contribute board dollars. And it's just not the best way to do this process. And so I think that Nate is asking about us moving forward with developing a shared pot, if not in 21. I'm assuming he's looking for in 21. But I think that maybe we could have a meeting between now and our next governing board meeting and see what parameters we could put around that. That makes sense for everyone that has not been participating in these shared funding discussions.
That answer your question, Nate?
Yeah, thanks, guys. And like I said, it seems like multi-system youth dollars are able to fund most of the cases that we've worked in, but there have just been a few based on timelines or the placement where the child's been, where we've had to pull together those agreements that Natalie has talked about. But hopefully the MSY funds can cover the situations the majority of the time.
So V, are you suggesting that we change some things on this budget or that we just revise it in February, like Michelle was saying?
I'm saying wait and do what Michelle is saying. I think that we need to decide what that shared funding looks like. And I could be wrong, and I don't, if I'm misspeaking about this, Michelle, but we already have and I'm just learning all of this. We already have like a restricted pool funding, shared funding type of report that we have to give to the state. And do we have to create a new line item if we do this, Michelle, or do we already have like maybe a line item for shared pooled funding?
We have a line item. It's in the FCSS. The shared pool funding is in the FCSS category. We could create, I mean, we have line items that are not being used. One can be renamed and we can just put the funding in there and
Right.
there. Would the board, well, is this going, when you say shared pot, is this going to be a pot that one agency has, or is this going to be a pot that all the agencies have?
I think that's what needs to be. I think what it is they're going to put the pot at council.
Right.
And then council would be the one invoiced by the placement type of agencies to pay the bills for those kids that MSY doesn't cover.
Okay, so then we definitely need, yeah, I can set something up that would be fine, or rename something and we would be good.
So I think once we get some finalized details, we know that there's a line item there that we can rename and put on a future agenda to be able to make those payments.
Yes.
So, okay.
So with that, are there any other questions before we approve this budget? Okay, hearing none, I will make the motion on behalf of the Budget Committee to approve this version of the 2021 county budget. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
none opposed? Okay, all right, thank you, everyone.
Veronica, this is Brandy. I need to abstain.
Okay.
I am signing off.
Thank you, Michelle.
You.
Sylvia in Budget Committee for your assistance on that. Looks like next is item number 3, governing board business of the day. The first item for discussion is the 2021 meeting dates.
So we haven't been meeting on a monthly basis, and I guess I just wanted to have discussion. Initially, part of my discussion was going to be possibly moving the meeting date and time because JFS hasn't been able to be at the table due to a Columbus meeting for about a year, and ORC does not allow the JFS and Children's Services Director, who just happens to be the same person, to designate someone to attend these meetings. But I heard from David this week, and he said that his meeting obligation will end at the end of this calendar year. So beginning in January of 2021, he'll be more available and be able to attend the meetings on this date and time. So I guess I'm just checking in with the group. Been the date and time for a long time. Is it still working for everybody? I guess that's part A of the question. Does anybody have any issues with us staying with the same meeting?
No issues.
All right, so we'll go forward on the second Thursdays of the month. And the next question is it used to be that we met every other month. And when we restructured and did our strategic planning, we felt that it would be important to have monthly meetings, and that just hasn't, I mean, lots of things have happened this year that have impacted the why behind that decision. So I wanted to see this fall, we decided to go to an every other month schedule. Are you comfortable with us continuing that in 2021? Michelle has asked me that we would meet on the even months. So we would meet in December, and then in February, and then from then on. And I can create a meeting date form and send that to everybody that has all the dates on it. But is everyone good with every other month meetings?
Yes. Yep.
Objections on my part.
Okay, so
And
then that's
Thursday, good for commissioners.
wonderful. Okay, so we will stay with the second Thursday of the month. 10 o'clock will be the budget committee. 10:30 will be the regular meetings, and then it will be on the even months. So that's all I had for that. And then I don't know, Natalie, do you want to take the lead with this? I did pull up I have the strategic plan if we want to pull that in at all, or if you just want to have a dialogue.
Well, let's see where this goes. We had spent as a council and with DD a lot of work, maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, looking at what council strategic plan was. And then our council manager position became vacant, and we had kind of developed, we developed a plan related to that skill set and that training set. Without that individual in the position, we haven't been able to move forward with any of those. So, you know, I feel like maybe what we need to do, and I'm looking for feedback from the group, is to pull together a subcommittee and take a dive into our strategic plan and take a dive into what do we want council to look like in the future? Do we want to go back to what we had identified in the plan? Do we want it just to be business and service coordination? But we really, you know, as the pandemic, as we are now able to meet more virtually and our meetings are consistent, I really do think that we need to make some decisions about the future of council. So I just wanted to get your feedback about next steps and a subcommittee development.
So you have a plan, a draft of a plan for 2021, is that?
Well, we were working off, well, we haven't been working off anything recently, let's be honest, because the became vacant right at the beginning of COVID. But we have a plan that was to carry us through. I don't know if it was a 2 or 3 year plan. We just haven't been able to see it's come to fruition because it was developed around that person's skill set. Lesson learned.
Okay. So it really needs to be revamped is what you're saying.
Well, it needs to be revamped, or we need to decide to that position for somebody that we're going to train the way that we had hoped to with trauma-informed care.
So once you develop the job description, you'll hire someone?
The job description's been developed. We just have to decide if we're sticking with that and then training someone up, because I mean, it's very good information. It's very important for our community to be trauma informed and have an understanding of how the brain is impacted by childhood trauma. But that's going to be a lot of work for council and potentially some cost for council to get someone trained back up to that level. So we need to decide if it's significant enough that we're willing to put the time, effort, and energy into training someone, or if we're going to step back from that goal.
Natalie, I really like the idea of pulling the subcommittee. You might even want to look at the plan in light of COVID to see if there are any changing priorities for our community based on the pandemic.
Just moving forward, this has been my approach in other meetings. If you are willing to serve on the subcommittee to look at the strategic plan and the future of council, Veronica, can I email you? Please email Veronica and we will get some Zoom meetings scheduled. And if we don't hear from anybody, we will most certainly reach out and see who's willing to be involved. But I really would appreciate if you would be willing to carve out some time to be on that subcommittee.
Natalie, I'm willing to be on there. I agree with Nate. I think it needs to be looked at in light of COVID, because that with COVID, we've seen some things with the overdose rate and the impact on kids with the isolation and things like that. So you can throw me on there if you want.
Great. Thank you, Brandy.
All right, well, thanks, Natalie and Veronica, for those updates. And again, email Veronica if you'd like to be a part of that subcommittee to look at our goals and objectives for the next few years. It looks like next, Veronica, we have agency program and parent updates. If you want to start with Paige, sharing some updates from service coordination.
Hi guys. So currently I have 13 service coordination cases. I have gotten a couple of referrals in the past month and a half, and I have a few phone calls from parents. So we've been kind of waiting for this increase in cases to happen. Right now, the age range is between 9 and 17. I have kids from Dover, Philly, Tusky Valley, and Claymont right now. We have 3 active MSY cases who were continuing to request more funding from the MSY. They're in residential placements. We do have 2 MSY applications in progress. One youth is going to residential placement, and the other one we are going to be asking for funding for some in-home services through Maley Respite Homes. Their staff are going to be going in the home and working with the parents and the kid to work on some behaviors and some school help. We do have 1 MSY application still on hold. It was approved, but the youth went to a developmental center, which MSY will not pay for. So they are waiting to kind of hear from us to see what we are doing with that youth. And for now, we're holding on to that funding, but we're trying to figure out where that funding is going to go if she stays in placement longer. We, like discussed earlier, we have had 2 shared funding opportunities between DD, JFS, Adams Board, Family and Children First, and the Juvenile Court. So those youth have, one was in a placement and the other one was at a long-term fit stay. We do have 1 youth returning from a residential placement next week. They've been there for over a year, so we are using their MSY funding to coordinate some services when they return home. So we'll still be able to use those. And we do have one of the MSY applications is used to cover a youth who is staying at homes, which we are also using part of the grant from DD. And recently Veronica and I met with some people who have created an app called Caretivity, and it's an app for your phone, and it is meant for team members that are involved with a family, and it's also for the family to use. And the app you can put in goals and assign team members to those specific goals or tasks that need to be completed. And there's a chat box that everyone can see So we are starting to roll that out. I have one team that I'm working on the app with right now. So we're kind of seeing how that goes. They gave us 10 free teams that we can create, and depending on how that goes, we're going to look at if we want to continue using it in the future. So it's supposed to be very parent driven, kind of give them supposed to be an easy way for them to communicate with everyone on the team rather than having to call every individual person. So we're using that and seeing how it goes and gonna go from there. I think that's all the updates I have. If anyone has any questions for me.
I have to say one thing. I was with Terry Carpenter, who is the school counselor at New Philly Schools, and she pulled me aside and said, I have to tell you what an amazing job that Paige is doing. There is a child that New Philly Schools had been working with, a child and family, for quite a while, who it seemed like when Paige came in, she really knew some of the resources that maybe weren't considered previously just because of her area of expertise. And she was able to get a really good plan in place for that. She was able to pull the team together. And she was able, I believe, to transition the child to a that was appropriate. Is that right, Paige?
Yeah, he's one that I just got all the documents and I'm sending it out now to residential placement. So we're just waiting on a place to accept him.
So when a colleague unsolicited gives a positive about one of our council members, I just want to call it to everyone's attention that Paige gives her summary once every other month, but the work that she's doing in the community is really being acknowledged and noticed, and she's doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Paige. Thank you, Natalie. Veronica, would this be a good time to do any agency, parent, or program updates from any of you on the call?
Yes, it would.
Right. Does anybody have any pertinent updates to share with the group this morning?
At Head Start, we just started our virtual academy. Just this week, really got it underway because some of the parents were not willing to allow their children to come back to the center, and we have fewer numbers at the center because of social distancing and everything. We've arranged it that way. But with the virtual academy, all of those children get a free meal every week for each day of the week, as well as they get paperwork taken to them in addition to the virtual work that the teacher does with them. A lot of those children are Hispanics, so it's somewhat complicated and cumbersome because we have to have the translator involved too. So, but we're just working out the bugs because that piece of it just got started.
Hey, Sue, can I ask you something?
Sure.
I forget who I was talking to, but we were talking about the kids who are not physically at Head Start.
Yes.
And I think those kids typically were involved in the tough bags. And,
Yes.
you know, we wondered could we handle something like that? So you guys are sending home a meal every day?
Yeah, that's something totally separate than the tough bags.
I know. But what I'm thinking is, if you're able to do that, would there be a way that we could get food for those kids for the weekends as well?
In relationship to the tough bags is what you're thinking
Yeah.
about? That may already be in place. I'm not sure. I can check with somebody here that works with the tough bags and find out about that. I think they probably are already on that, but I can't guarantee it. The reason they can get the meals for each day is because they are attending Head Start and we provide meals each day.
How do you physically get it to them though?
It's delivered to them.
Okay.
But I believe it's being done on a weekly basis. I don't think it's taken out every single day. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
We've just started this virtual this week, so we're working out the bugs, but we are providing them, each one of those families, their food for their child for the days that they would have been at Head Start, for the 5 days.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, maybe we can,
I will double check on that, for
Okay.
the tough bags. I doubt that they're excluded from that. They're because they are Head Start children, but you're talking about the weekends.
yeah, I think we were just wondering how would we get it delivered to those kids, but it sounds like maybe we could coordinate something.
Yeah, and that may already be in place. I just need to ask someone here that works with that.
Okay,
And
okay.
you want me to let you know then?
Yeah, because then
Okay.
I can talk with Lisa Walker, who
Okay.
coordinates that. Yeah, I'd appreciate that, Sue.
Yeah, and we probably already are talking to her because we're a part of that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
okay.
okay,
I
thanks.
just want to make sure those kids were covered, because just because
Yes.
they're home doesn't mean they don't need food.
Exactly. And we're well aware of that, and I hope it's already handled, but I can't
Yeah.
guarantee that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sue and Sylvia. Anybody else? Any updates for the group?
Hello, this is Mike Gardner, DYS.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, yeah, they're kind of lifting a little bit of our restrictions here as far as travel goes. We are going to be entering the state facilities, Indian River, Circleville, and Cuyahoga Hills, starting this month. We're still not permitted to go to any placement or schools or any meetings, but they are letting us visit families out in the community for the kids that are in their first 90 days of commitment and their last 90 days of commitment. So they're kind of easing up a little bit as far as our restrictions, and hopefully, by January we'll be able to go out there 100%. That's it.
Thank you, Mike, and welcome to our group. Anybody else?
This is Mandy. We received our VOC allocations, which is our federal grant, which is the majority of how we're funded. And the state of Ohio and Tuscarawas County was hit pretty hard. I think most agencies had around a 34% cut. So for us, that was equivalent to just under $75,000. So we will still be operating, just not as many services that we had before. One of the things being Paige in our contract, we won't have her for as big a percentage, but she will still be here. And we had a lot of money going out for mental health, school-based to Guidestone, CMH, and Village Network. We're still going to be doing that a little bit, but it is a much, much smaller scale this year. And then we will not be replacing Makria's position. So it'll just be me. So we'll just be trucking along though.
Where did Makria go?
Oh goodness, Guernsey County, counseling agency in Guernsey County. I can't remember the name of it right now. I'm sorry.
Shoot.
Yeah, and we've had, and I know I've said this at other meetings about our prosecution rates, and I never knew the percentage, so I had it. So since January, of the cases, we're at a 50% prosecution rate with our cases, which to us is huge. And some of them, we knew charges wouldn't be filed because there wasn't enough information, but it was law enforcement doing a good job of still sending their report up there. So it was on file and it was in their system. So we're pretty happy with that.
Thank you for the update, Mandy, and your creativity to keep things moving along. Anybody else? Updates?
I'll give an update from the Adams Board. We are currently working with school districts in Tuscan Carroll County to hand out the $205,000 the state gave us for prevention services. Schools had to jump through many, we'll just say many, we won't editorialize, many hoops to get this money. And it has been a journey, especially in the middle of a pandemic, but We're at the point where the board is beginning to cut checks and send them out from the state funding so that the schools can really ramp up their prevention services. Everyone is developing their own plan. Every district is developing their own plan, and I'm incredibly impressed to see what's coming through. Hopefully you have seen either on Facebook or in the TR or in the community, the 3 silhouettes. That's called Project Hope. And that's a collaboration between ADAMS, our addiction task force, and our anti-drug coalition. We saw that our overdose and our overdose deaths have skyrocketed during the pandemic to even higher than our prior worst rates in 2017, that we've surpassed those rates. So across Tuscarawas County and in our larger cities, in 9 of our cities, we have placed 3 silhouettes, 1 black silhouette with the total number of deaths in the county, a gray silhouette with the number of overdoses in that specific community, in that specific city, and then a yellow silhouette symbolizing hope with resources, with a sign with our local providers and Project Dawn kits. We had a press conference at the courthouse, and we will have a final wrap-up event at the courthouse on October 25th at 5. So hopefully, if you see the pictures in the community, if you would post them to Facebook, we would certainly appreciate that. Publicity makes events like this really have the impact that we're hoping for. The last thing I will say, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that ADAMS has a levy on the ballot, and please consider voting for issue 22, which is a renewal, will not increase your taxes. And let me know if you would be interested or willing to have a yard sign either in your personal yard or at your place of business. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. Anybody else today? Right. If not, just quickly from the Board of DD, we are in the process of doing our strategic planning efforts for the next 3 years. I want to thank you guys who came to our community forum. We got a lot of good feedback. But if you were not able to be there, we have on our website and Facebook page a link to a quick survey. I think 10 questions that if you could answer would be great to help us to plan for the future of DD services here in Tusk County. And the only other thing to bring to your attention, I think I shared this with a few of you. The Ohio Department of Medicaid recently released a new priority called Ohio RISE. RISE stands for Resilience Through Integrated Services and Excellence, but it's a new managed care program that is seeking to work with some of our most intensive needs kids in Ohio. It's a coordinated effort between ODE, Department of Mental Health, Department of DD, Medicaid, and others. But it seems like it's an exciting step forward to kind of streamline the process of funding and placements for some of our most intensive needs kids. And I believe this will be rolled out in the next year, and a significant part of the next biennium budget will be devoted to this new redesign of this managed care program for youth. So just something to put on your radar. That is all I have. If there's nobody else, it looks like next we have unfinished business, council manager vacancy. Veronica or Natalie, anything else to add on this topic?
No, and what I can do is I can take that off for December and just know that I guess we're addressing that in the strategic planning subcommittee.
Thanks, Veronica. Then you guys can see under new business, the meeting in November is canceled as we move to the every other month schedule. And then our next meeting will be in December. Oh my goodness, that seems crazy. So we'll see you guys on December 10th at 10:30. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So
So moved.
Natalie.
Natalie?
A second.
Second.
Sylvia.
That's all right. Thanks, guys.